Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is a very short video to help you design a new diet because you've been working on your self-assessment report. You've gotten to the point now where you've been looking at your previous diet or the diet you typically follow. You've done your analysis of your diet using the diet calculator. It probably has told you some things, maybe some things were surprising to you. And obviously, we're going to be paying attention to what those numbers meant. Like calcium is low, the new diet you design should include more calcium in your diet. If water was low, definitely water intake needs to increase as well. But you're probably going to be looking for a diet that you should be following. So how are we going to find a new diet? That's what this short video is about. So let's go ahead and design a new diet. Here's the good news for you. There are many options out here, but here's the bad news. A lot of those options are going to turn out to be fad diets. So what I'm going to help you do in this video is really assign or decide what are fad diets versus a good diet. And I'm going to give you a suggestion for 4 diets that you should follow. But first, we're going to go through what a fad diet really is. So fad diets, they are the latest popular diet. It's the things that all your friends are always just talking about or the magazines are talking about. And they say, wow, this is new thing, and it's really, really good. And it's supposed to help you really lose weight. And the big thing here is that you're going to see that fad diets always have telltale signs. One of the things always with a fad diet is it's usually a monotonous diet. It's something you have to do over and over again, like avoid all carbs, or you have to drink juice 20 times a day or carry around a gallon of water. These are all fad diets because it's a monotonous thing. Daily intake is extremely monitored. Here's what we know. First of all, keep in mind, the same as you write in your book, a diet is a diet as far as what you do every single day. So diet isn't something you do for 4 or 5 days to lose 10 pounds. A diet is just what you take in every single day. A fad diet is different. That's the thing that's going to tell you, oh, within 7 days, you're going to lose 10 pounds on the South Beach diet, something like that. But they don't work. Here's what we know, and this is really the take home of this whole thing. Any short-term diet or fad diet is not going to work. What we know in the free information out there, and there's plenty of it for you, and your book is some of that resource. Eating well and exercise is very effective in the long run as far as maintaining weight and helping somebody trim their weight and become more trim and lose body fat. It's also easier to follow because all these fad diets, they make you be really restrictive. Oh, you can't eat orange foods, or carrots are bad, or apples are bad, but grapes are good. That's very difficult to follow. True diets like the MyPlate system that I'll be introducing to you in a few slides, it's much easier to follow because it follows a true diet, something that doesn't restrict you, doesn't make you miss foods, doesn't make you extremely hungry during the day. It's really about including exercise every single day in your routine, and then following a good diet, eating whole, healthy foods from different categories, and most of those should be fruits and vegetables, and that's the big thing. How can we recognize an unreliable diet? I'll let you read this on your own later on. You can go back and look at the PowerPoint. It's also presented to you in the book, so a lot of what I'm going to present to you right now, I'm just going to say go to your book and look here for the key telltale signs of something is an unreliable diet or a fad diet. Some of these things, for example, no permanent lifestyle changes advocated. That's the big thing. Fad diets say follow this for 10 days and then you're good, or maybe a month, or maybe 3 months. But that doesn't make a permanent lifestyle change. When you think about designing a new diet, you want to be able to do something that you can say to yourself, wow, I could do this for the rest of my life. That's what a good diet is. Okay, so slowly changing how we do things and make a new status quo. And here's something I really want you to take away. If you've ever been somebody that's been on a fad diet or one of these unreliable short-term diets, people think that when they finally give up on the diet, it's because they did something wrong and they failed. And that is not true. You as a person did not fail. It's the diet that has failed you. It's not you failing a diet, it's the diet failing you. Because it's not a good diet to begin with. It's too monotonous. Intake is too extreme. You can no longer eat anything that you ever liked. This is bad. So remember, it's not you doing something wrong. You've identified you want to make changes, but you haven't found the right information yet to make those changes so they can be permanent. That's what we're going to talk about right now. Here, this book, I think this table in your book is very, very useful for you. Okay, so it shows table 7, 7-6 usually, and chapter 7 of the book. It really shows you that every single type of fad diet, all of them that keep on popping up, even the keto diet, which is really big when this was being recorded, that falls underneath what's called a carbohydrate-focused diet. So fad diets typically revolve. They revolve about every 5 to 20 years. They keep on turning back around, and they keep on being reannounced as something new. And really what it comes down to is it's nothing new. They're always, I'm telling you, any fad diet will fit underneath one of these 4 categories. It's just a sense the new generation isn't familiar with it, they can sell it to them again. And keep in mind, that's what's really going on here. It's a product being trying to sold to you because again, there's a book to be sold or a magazine to be sold or a supplement to be sold, or maybe even, you go to the, if you go to the supermarket right now, everything says paleo on it. So again, now those products are being sold. And again, the paleo diet also doesn't work, and we'll talk about that. So please look at this table because again, the idea is don't pick a fad diet for your new diet regime. You want to pick something good, and I'll show you what those look like. So here are some case studies, and you can look at these on your own. The paleo diet's a really big one that's popular right now when this is being recorded as well, besides the keto diet. People think it's new. It used to be called the Stone Age diet. So this is another one that's being recirculated from the 70s. 40 years has gone by, and now we get the diet back again. So it's nothing new. It's nothing breakthrough or late breaking from science. It's more nonsense. There's a really nice TEDx talk or TED talk on this if you want to watch that sometime. But one of my things with the paleo diet, which I really like, is this cartoon. Something's just not right. Our air is clean, our water is pure, we get all plenty of exercise, everything we eat is organic and free range, and yet nobody lives past 30. And it just ties again that whole idea. We get really obsessed with ideas, and people explain things to a certain way. Oh, think about the cavemen and how they lived and all these sort of things. But it's not exactly the way that we think it was back then. So if you want more information, look up these sources to see why these types of diets don't work, and we'll move on from there. There are ways to gauge the accuracy of a fad diet, and where can you go to find that information? It really goes back to here, the FDA, PubMed.gov. Try to find the articles that talk about these sort of things. A registered dietitian or a medical doctor is also very useful with these sort of things because again, they can say, "Oh, that's definitely a fad diet." If you have a question, you can always send me an email as well and say, like, "Is this a good diet or not?" And usually, if it's not one of the four I'm presenting to you, I'm going to say it is a fad diet. It fits underneath one of these four categories here. So that's on fad diets, but let's talk about how we're actually going to redesign our diet in a good way. So there's some things to keep in mind with diet design, and one of the big things is keeping perspective with weight. We have to think about what a healthy weight is for us, not what an ideal weight is in, like what magazines tell you it is. Okay, we're supposed to aim for realistic goals for ourselves. We're supposed to be listening to our body's cues for hunger and not ignoring those sort of things, and instead focus on eating a healthy diet. That means plenty of whole foods, not processed foods for the most part, because those are going to pack on simple sugars, extra types of fats to make it more tasty than we'd find in natural foods, and also increase our amount of exercise and physical activity. It's a big requirement of any good diet. We also have to have what we call size acceptance. There's a term nowadays called healthy at any weight, and it's the idea as far as if you start to increase certain activities, exercise, good diet, you will become more trim. Don't focus as much on the weight. Don't look at the scale as far as the numbers going down. The numbers may not go down, especially if you start exercise because muscle mass is increasing. So this talks a little bit more about why fad diets don't work. You can look at this on your own. And again, the idea that people are being misdirected by it. But here's what you really want to do for a sound weight loss program. First of all, you can talk to a registered dietitian. We have one at Manhattanville College. We have one on campus. It comes back to controlling calorie intake, but just a little bit. Usually only trimming maybe 100 calories per day. And we can see what the weight loss triad is. Control calorie intake, watch what you're eating a little bit, increase exercise, and control problem behaviors. Now, in other parts of these modules, we talk about linking activities, for example, eating popcorn and watching a movie together, maybe on a Friday night, going and getting hamburgers, those sort of things. We can control those sort of problems behaviors. If we do the weight loss triad, we're going to have better results. We also have to know that, small changes over time can make a drastic difference in your life. So on average, adults gain about 20 pounds over 20 years. And a lot of this is because of the things we eat. For example, French fries is being added to our diet. So if we get rid of those sort of things, we don't see that weight loss increasing. The other thing we have to keep in mind is that as we age, we have to do more things actively to make sure we don't gain weight. So more calorie restriction has to happen over time, and also more exercise needs to happen over time just to maintain weight. It's just something that happens as we enter what we call senescence in life, which starts around the age of 20. We see it about every 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50. You need to keep on, again, looking at your diet, redesign it in small amounts, and also increasing physical activity just to maintain weight. So if the changes aren't begun at an early age, it's very difficult to make these things happen at a later age, 40, 50, when a lot of routines are set, and it's more difficult to get in that routine and rhythm. Of course, it's still possible, just takes more effort. This is what you should be focusing on. This is in your book, but it shows the idea. This is what happens with a yo-yo diet or a fad diet. You become aware of the problem. You get a bad diet design. So you set unrealistic goals, practice it. You're unable to keep it up. For example, the keto diet is unsustainable. So you go back to the status quo and you just go back to the problem and you think that you failed, but again, you didn't fail. But if you follow a good diet, you set realistic goals, you start practicing it, and then you can be successful with your changes, and then that becomes a new status quo. It's a new diet for you, a new routine or regimen, and that's a good thing. So with that idea, now again, we're not looking to make changes forever. What we're doing is we're doing a new diet for one day, just to see what other types of good diets are out there that we could be following, and then maybe if you like it, trying to take these sort of ideas and implementing them into a new regimen or a new status quo for yourself. So there are 4 different ideas that I would have for you. I would really recommend you stick to one of these because the other diets, like I say, typically are considered, contemporary or fad diets. The MyPlate system is excellent. It's from the U.S. government. I'll show you how that looks in a minute. The Mediterranean diet is also a highly recommended diet. If you're already following one of these diets, but you saw on the nutrition calculator, some people will say like, oh, but I already do the MyPlate system. I already do a Mediterranean diet because my family's from here, X, Y, and Z, those sort of things. Then maybe what you want to do is look at the nutrition calculator and say, okay, calcium was low, so I need to add milk in. Maybe I need more water in my diet based on the calculations. And then you're going to add in those things in for your day. But here's another option for you. Depending upon where you are in your diet and where you are in your life, you may want to try vegetarian or vegan and say, I just want to give it a shot for a day. Go for it. That's absolutely fine. You can try one of those, and I'll give you some recommendations for how to do that in the next few slides as well. So here's the MyPlate system. It's choosemyplate.gov. You can go there. They'll help you design an entire day's diet. This is why choosemyplate.gov is one of the revered websites that I like for trying to design your diet, because there's a lot of good information out there for you directly on their website to help you design a good diet for the day. The plate system, the same as you saw in chapters 1 and 2, is easy to see that protein or meats would only be a small part of your diet. Again, they help you if you want to try vegetarian or vegan, making these protein products from vegetables and fruit-based sources only. They avoid oversized portions. They focus on things like water, low-fat beverages like dairy if you have it, like low-fat milks, because again, you need that calcium. So you can look at this on your own to see what the recommendations are. Again, it shows over here, again, other recommendations for you. This is all built into the MyPlate system. And even with the fish, etc., you're going to see this is actually very similar nowadays to the Mediterranean diet, which comes up next. Okay, so this is the Mediterranean diet. We can see that it works still on the pyramid scheme, which we used to have a few years ago for the MyPlate system as well, before it used to be called the MyPyramid system. And we can see that one thing that you notice here, obviously, is that there's no processed foods. The closest you get to processed food is there's a little bit of bread here. If you want to have it, you don't have to include it in the diet. Focuses a lot on seafood and fishes, a little bit of meats, but as you see, very little red meats. Okay, red meats are not really part of the Mediterranean diet typically. Water is part of the diet. Wine or alcohol can be part of the diet, but only during meal times. It's not drunk, for example, binge drinking at night. It's just one glass of wine at a meal with friends, something like that. Focusing on whole grains, and then also the foundation, which is very interesting, which is different than the MyPlate system. The foundation of the diet pyramid for the Mediterranean diet is exercise and also social activity, eating with family or friends as part of the norm, and then doing things to increase exercise in your diet. So this is also presented in your book, so you can go there and find more information on this if you're interested. oldwayspt.org also helps you find information on the Mediterranean diet if you want to follow it. And that brings us to vegetarian diet. So there's a lot of information on this slide. I'm not going to really go through all of it, but it is interesting to try it. Vegetarian diet is different than a vegan diet. Okay, so I just want to explain that idea. Vegans only consume plant products. That is extremely difficult to do for most people. It can be very dangerous, in fact, because if you're following a vegan diet, you have to do something called complementary proteins. I'll explain that to you in a few slides. But if you're not doing that, you can actually do protein scavenging. You can take protein out of your body because your body needs protein every single day, the same as we learned in the protein chapter. You don't store protein, so it needs to be ingested every day, consumed every day in your diet. Another problem is plants don't contain vitamin B12, so you need to get that source from somewhere. Your body can store it for a very long period of time, 2 years, so you can start a vegan diet and not know you have a deficiency until about 2 years later, where neurodevelopmental problems can exist or begin at that point. So B12 is a big consideration. Omega-3s, calcium, all these things become concerns as well. So vegan is possible, vegan is fine to do, but it's really difficult to do it well. So again, if you want to do that, I'll show you some resources to make sure it can't just be, oh, I'm going to eat fruits and nuts today and it'll be fine. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to be very specific about eating, for example, rice with beans, because that makes a full protein. Easiest thing to do is become a lacto-ovo vegetarian. So when people refer to themselves as vegetarians, they actually usually mean this. Lacto means milk, ovo means eggs. It means they consume milk, eggs, along with plant products. This is great because the eggs are going to contain B12, the milk is going to have your calcium. Together, the milk and eggs make up the full protein, so you're good to go. Things that are not recommended, fruitarian. Fruitarian only eats fruits, nuts, honey, vegetable oils. It's not recommended, has a lot of nutrient deficiencies. Pescatarians, they try to consume fish every single day. This can also be a problem because, again, fish can contain mercury, and so eating the wrong types of fish, can lead to higher mercury levels in the body because it bioaccumulates. And then also keep in mind, even with a vegetarian diet, it can be very difficult for children to follow these types of diets because they have more energy demands. They have smaller stomachs, so they can get filled up on things like salads, and without the high energy meals such that come with meats, cheeses, etc., they may not be meeting their calorie goals for the day. So again, if you're going to go vegetarian, your best options typically are lacto-ovo vegetarian, vegan if you really understand well what you're doing. Nutrition.gov does give recommendations on how to do this well. Okay, so that's a good website for you to look at. You can follow this diet. And here's my recommendation. Let's say, for example, you're like, I'm not ready to give up meat. I love red meat. I love different types of meat. Well, there's something else you can do. Instead of just getting rid of meat, you can just reduce your meat intake. That makes a difference in your life and also on what's going on as part of the planet. So if you're not aware, cows and red meats, they take up a lot of resources on this planet. They take up more resources than just growing vegetables to begin with for the most part. They're putting methane gases into the air. That's a greenhouse gas. Big, big problem. So I'm just going to show you a couple different options here as far as reducing your meat intake. So instead of saying I'm not going to get rid of meats, I'm not going to become a vegetarian or a vegan, you could just decrease meat intake to one meal a day. You only need about as much meat per day as if you make a closed fist, that's all you need. You really don't need much. There are some options out here. Here's a really, really good option, and this is for people that like the taste of meat and are still at that phase as far as diets are concerned. So the Impossible Burger in this Impossible food is quite amazing. You can go to their website and check out what they're doing, but you can get already an Impossible Burger. That burger that you're looking at right there is in fact all plant-based material, but it bleeds like a red meat burger, and it's because they use a heme protein that's been isolated from plants. So it's juicy and tastes like beef, but at the same time, it's 100% plant material. Very interesting. I definitely recommend trying it. There are restaurants in the area that serve this. Just type in Impossible Burger, Westchester, and you'll find some. And here's a very interesting idea. So let's say you like to make tacos or whatever at home. Instead of using, for example, in my house, we might use a pound of beef for making tacos. Well, instead of using a pound of beef, how about you use half a pound of beef and then use half a pound of beans? It's going to taste exactly the same. It's going to give you more of obviously the whole grain of the bean, which is good for you anyway. You're going to get those phytonutrients that the book talks about that are very interesting and important for you as well. And you've reduced your red meat intake. So that's very good because it means less red meat, less demand for red meat, less cows being grown for red meat. At the same time, it's better for your body too because half of that meal has now become plant-based, and you're still getting all the protein you want from the red meat as it is. Here's some other really good options for you. So again, thinking about milk, if you like to put milk or cream in your coffee, silk soy milk or just any soy milk really, it's a very good taste. It's a creamy taste. It gives you the texture of a half and half, but at the same time, it's all plant-based, plant material. Just remember, get the unsweetened version, the same as we learned before when we were going to the milk products. With sweetened, it adds on a lot of calories and it adds on a lot of simple sugars. There's some very good options out there nowadays as far as meatless type meats. Boca is well known. Corn is excellent, especially for their beef products. So, for example, even if you don't want to put beans in, you could do half a pound of chopped meat, half a pound of corn meatless meat, and it tastes exactly the same. You would not know that there is a non-meat product in that product, but it's only mushrooms and peas and beans, etc. Dr. Prager's is not trying to be the classic beef burger, mock beef burger. They're trying to just make it a good tasting burger on their own. The mushroom risotto, for example, is excellent. Put a little brie on top if you're going vegetarian. It's not going to taste like a hamburger, it just tastes like a good meal. And then for hot dogs, there are the smart dogs. Most people are not happy with them. They taste fake for most people. But here's a really interesting option that works really, really well. Carrots. You can roast a carrot the same as you would roast a hot dog, and it tastes delicious. And they're called carrot dogs, and they taste really good. You can put ketchup and mustard on top of it. You can see here they've put different garnishes instead. Very, very nice meal. So that brings us to the vegan diet side. So this is where we come into complementary proteins. So again, the thing with plants is because, with meat products or animal products, you're going to get the whole protein. So all 20 amino acids are present in enough quantities or sufficient quantities that you can then make any protein you want. With a vegan diet, it's a little bit different. So for example, legumes don't have a lot of methionine and vegetables don't also, but grains like rice will have methionine, but they lack lysine. So if you're taking rice and a legume at the same time, then, for example, red beans and rice, then they're going to both give sufficient amounts of the limiting amino acid in the other group that you're going to get everything you need in that diet. You can see over here also, for example, pasta and tomatoes. That's a good complement. Green beans and almonds, that's a good complement. Soybeans and ground sesame seeds or a miso mix, that's a good complement. The only thing is you got to keep in mind is you have to eat these in the same day. So you could have, for example, tomatoes for lunch and pasta for dinner, and you're good to go. As long as they're consumed in the same day, you've done complementary proteins. But if you only eat grains and nuts in a day, then you've limited lysine in your diet. You can't make proteins, and your body is going to go through protein scavenging and start taking protein from other parts of the body you don't want it to be taken from. So that's really what it comes down to. Vegan diets are very specific. There are some guides online, like in nutrition.gov, will give you some information. Here's some websites as well to help you with that. Because again, designing a good vegan diet that gives you complementary protein so you get the full protein in your diet, that's the challenge. You can definitely do it. You just need a good guide to start with. And that's really it. So I hope that's helpful. I hope this gives you a little bit of information how to avoid fad diets. Focus instead on those nice diets, those good diets that I was showing you, like the MyPlate system, the Mediterranean system. Even a vegetarian diet for a day might be fun to try it. And remember, when redesigning your diet in general, even past this one day thing, this is just to try something out, see if you like it, learn something new about how you can, you've learned something through the process of, following your diet, doing the nutrition calculator, now trying something new that you're now in control of your diet. But remember, if it's not something satisfying to you to do, the new diet, and it's not giving you good nutrition to begin with, you won't be able to follow in the long term or change the status quo. So that's that idea again about those fad diets. So make sure it's a diet that you're comfortable with and making the changes you want in your life. Okay, thanks everyone. Good luck with the diet. We'll talk soon.